Good afternoon and welcome to today's Mavs Edge Internship Spotlight panel. I'm David Powers, the Assistant Director of Internships with UTA's Lockheed Martin Career Development Center. I assist our employers with developing internship programs and direct our Mavs Edge program. I'm joined today by Aisha Shaji. Aisha, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Hi, my name is Aisha Shaji. I am a Mavs Edge facilitator here at LMCDC, and I'm also a student at UTA. I major in psychology and journalism.
Thank you, and thank you everyone for spending your lunch with us or taking time to view the recording. We're excited to welcome representatives from the University of Texas System for today's Spotlight, exciting program that offered several opportunities to UTA students. But before we get started, please be sure to check in with the event link or the QR code in the chat. Also, be sure you've muted your mics, turned off your video. You may begin sending questions to the panel at any time during the event. We'll select some questions near the end for the group. We'll meet our guests in just a moment, but first let's have Aisha, if you would, give us a few announcements for upcoming events or opportunities.
Sorry, I had my mic. Please visit the chat section where we have provided a list of upcoming events and center services for you. I'd like to quickly highlight a few. Join us on Friday, November 12 at 11 to 11:30 a.m. for Handshake 101 workshop, a virtual session to answer all your questions related to Handshake, including why use Handshake, how to navigate the system, and how to apply for jobs and internships. For more details and the link to join, please visit the chats. On Monday, November 16th at 2 to 2:30 p.m., there will be a Work Study 101 workshop where you will learn all about how Work Study works and how to utilize your award. At the end, there will be a Q&A where students can ask all the questions they still have. The event will be held via Teams. The link is in the chats below. We encourage you to follow us on LMCDC LinkedIn Spotlight page. Here you'll find information regarding job opportunities, tips for obtaining internships, event information, and introductions to our new Edge employer partners. We have also created a student internship network group in Microsoft Teams that you're invited to join. Those links are also available in the chat. For a full list of LMCDC events and services, including MAV mentors, handshake workshops, resume and cover letter workshops, and career drop-ins, visit the Events tab on our website. Again, a link is in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you, Aisha. Let's get started meeting our panelists, beginning with Susan. Would you get us started?
Absolutely. It's my pleasure to be here. I'm Susan Mason. I'm the Assistant Director of Talent and Innovation Programs with the Office of Talent and Innovation at the University of Texas System. I've been at System for just over 3 years, and I was with UT Austin for 14 years prior to that. My background's in career services and student affairs, and I'm really excited to bring you some more information about this program that we started right as COVID hit. We'll be going into our 3rd year this summer.
Thank you, Susan. Grace?
Hi, my name is Grace Detmore. I'm the Talent Management Specialist in the Office of Talent and Innovation. I've partnered with Susan to create this incredible internship program. I've been with UT System almost 8 years now, and I'm really excited to answer and address any questions today.
Thank you. Stephanie?
Hi, I'm Stephanie Gill. I am the HR manager over our business partner team. Like Grace said, I've been happy to be a part of this program from the onset, from conception, and been with UT System Administration for 6.5 years and offer the program, HR support.
Thanks, Stephanie. Sammer?
Hi, David. It's great to be back here again. My name is Samar Hijazi. I'm a data analytics and innovation associate here at UT System. I have been a part of UT System since January as a student worker. I took part in helping with some of the back-end development of our internship program, and I also had the chance to participate in the summer program. A brief overview of my role: I'm just simply the data guy on the HR Office of Talent and Innovation.
Just simply, don't minimize that.
Everybody wants to know that. Everybody wants to know the data guy, right?
Yeah.
Spoken also like a true data guy, kind of low key, right? I'm just a data guy, you know.
That's how we like to be. You know?
That's how we roll. That's how we roll. Thanks,
Yep.
thanks, Amber. It's good to see you again. And Alexandra.
Nice to see you too.
Hello, my name is Alexandra Smith. I'm a student associate here at UT System, and I actually started with the summer 2021 cohort of the UTSI program.
Thank you. And we have one other panelist who may be joining us in a bit. If he's able to log on, we'll stop and get that introduction as well. Thank you all again for sharing time with us today. Before we get started with the questions, I'm going to turn the presentation or the session over to Susan for an overview of the program.
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen if you want to stop sharing yours for me. All right. Y'all let me know if I'm sharing the right screen. I always worry. Okay. Grace is like, yes, I've got 3 screens going. So, you know, I want to make sure I'm not just showing you all pictures of yourselves. That would be bad. All right. So Emily is our star intern on our opening slide here, and she actually is still working for us as well. But just to get you started and give you some high-level information about our program, as I said, we started in the summer of 2020. So we were planning an in-person internship, and we were all ready to pilot. And then, as you all know and experience yourselves, we had a COVID put some kinks in the plan. And we pivoted in April, right before we started at the end of May, and turned it all into a virtual program. Then in 2021 summer, we were ready to do in-person again, and we had a COVID spike, and we converted to virtual again with twice as many students. So this is how I actually know our interns so far, is exactly how we're seeing you today. Is all virtual. I still haven't met Sammer and Alex in person, but we're really excited that we expect to be in person in the summer of 2022. So, you know, as I said, we piloted in 2020 and had our second year in 2021, and we were really thrilled that what we built the students team should be responding to well. We had overall extremely positive feedback, even in 100% virtual format. So, you know, everyone would recommend the program to someone else. So don't take it from me. We did surveys. This is what the data guy would say. The data says the students had some great takeaways from the program, that they gained the practical experience and the exposure to potential career paths and opportunities through their experience with us. So we hope to continue on that positive trajectory. We feel really confident in the work that we've been putting into it and the programming that we've been able to pull together for students. And Matul would tell you, it was incredible. So don't just take it from me. All right. So we do really look at sort of the differentiators and the best practices that we've seen. As I said, my background's in career services. Part of this program was born out of conversations that I had with other career services folks as I was meeting people across system. And we really tried to build in the things that we were hearing from them about what makes a great internship. So first of all, it is paid. Everyone gets paid in our internship. No one works for free at UT System. It's 10 weeks long. Undergraduates have a minimum salary of $15 an hour, and graduate students would have a minimum salary of $20 an hour. So we're excited to be able to say that you will make a little bit of money this summer if you come work with us. We also put an emphasis on project-based work. So we have, as you'll see when you see the list of potential intern positions coming up for summer 2022, a lot of variety in the departments and the type of work you could be doing within system. But regardless of which office and which team you're working with, we do require that the supervisors create a project for you if one doesn't already exist, so that you can own something from beginning to end. We are, as a state institution, not able to typically make offers for a full-time job straight out of the internship. So our goal is to prepare you for whatever the next thing is, and to make sure that you are ready to talk about your experiences and articulate the takeaways and really show off what you learned in working for UT System. So we like to do it on a project basis so you can own something from beginning to end, talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. And those take a variety of forms. Some people who will come for the summer and they'll work on one giant project or the entire summer and have a huge deliverable at the end. Other people have multiple smaller projects, so they'd have several things they could talk about from the summer. And other supervisors have a lot of back burner projects that they just don't have time to get to, but they really need. And so they'll bring those to the students and say, look, here are the things that we have that we'd like to get done. Which ones either build on your skills, help you learn a new skill, or are just of interest to you and trying to move you forward in what you're looking for in your career. I call those the choose your own adventure, still project based. So there'll be a variety of possibilities depending on the department that you work with. Then I lost my cursor. There we go. All right, and then I think one of the key elements and one that we really spend a lot of time developing is a professional development program. So every week in the 10 weeks, you will meet with Grace, Stephanie, and I, and people that we bring in from within UT system and external folks who are coaches and facilitators to do workshops and programming. So we do things like giving and receiving feedback, where we actually invite the UT system staff to come and participate with you, because understanding how to give and receive feedback is vital to any professional. So it's not just about you're an intern and you need to know this. That's something that's really valuable for any professional. So you have that opportunity to interact with the staff in that. We invite our executive officers to meet with you. So I actually have staff, and we do this for interns only, who say, can't we come? Because these interns get access to people that they don't get access to on a day-to-day basis. There'll be a Q&A with the chancellor at the end. We'll do Clifton Strengths as well, and some of you may be familiar with that assessment. That is a big component of our program, and you'll get one-on-one coaching about that. And then we also do reflection activities around it as well as we move forward. So I could talk about that for days. We're right in the middle of building it out for summer 2022, but it's the opportunity for students to get together as well once a week, so they always get to see each other. We also assign every intern a mentor who is outside of their department, so that you get an additional point person and a point of support as you go through the program. So if there's something you're not sure how to ask your supervisor, you're a little uncomfortable, there's another professional that you can go to and say, hey, can I bounce this off of you? And they bring their experiences to you and give you the opportunity to meet more people in higher education and across UT system itself, and often externally. So they're great connectors to help you build out your network. And then, as I said, we do provide opportunities for reflection. One of the things we heard as we talked to career services folks in building this was that students have varying experiences in their internships, but often, even with good experiences, they don't have time built in to process all of the things that they're learning and what those takeaways are. And I have as I said, as a career coach, it's really hard to remember what you did the first week of an internship when you get to the 10th week, if you're not stopping intentionally to process that and make notes on it. So we build that into the professional development so that when you get to the end, it's all still pretty top of mind and helps you to articulate those stories as you go into the next set of job interviews. And then last but definitely not least, we use a cohort model. So it's very important to us that all of the interns meet one another and get to build connections and a network of their peers across the state. So the internship is only open to students at UT system institutions, but they're at all UT system institutions. So we had 4 students from UT Arlington last year. We had students from UT Austin, UT RGV, UT El Paso, from all over the place. And so now they have connections across the entire state. Because we opened it to graduate students last year, we felt they had some different things they might want to talk about. They were at kind of a different place in life than our undergraduates. And we'd also expanded the program to 30 students. So we built in home groups as well. So we broke that cohort of 30 down into groups of 5 to 7 that met once a week just to check in with one another and get to know each other a little bit more deeply than the entire cohort. So those are our components that we feel like really differentiate the program to make it something that really helps you to build a strong sense of what you took away so that you can move forward into those interviews and really be articulate about the things that you've learned. Oh, there's Melissa. Hi, Melissa. All right. Now, it is only November. And I know you all live in semester land, but in UT system, we actually don't think, and I still do because I was on a campus for so long, but for some of our staff, it's really difficult to think through exactly what they need for the summer in November. So we're still pulling together some of the offices that will be offering internships. I'm pretty solid on this list of offices. The exact positions we're still refining, but there's job descriptions and a final list will be available right at the beginning of January. Like I said, I think this is fairly solid, so you can count on these. There's a few TBDs, but you can see the department. And so as we get those finalized, we will be adding them to our website. And I think Grace is going to drop that link into the chat for you so you can see where that would be. But as you can see, a lot of different types of work, all kinds of functions and fields of opportunity. So we do typically have something for most majors. All right, and then on your eligibility, as I said, you would have to be a UT student, which you all are. For undergraduates, we want you to have completed 2 semesters of coursework. For graduate students, 1 semester of coursework in your program. You do need to still be enrolled. So May graduates, you need to be going and getting that full-time job, not interning. So May graduates and postdocs are not eligible. But whether you're graduating in May or December or even August, if your last semester is the summer, that's fine, but we do need you to be an enrolled student. For our international students, you need to make sure that you're meeting the requirements for your CPT or whatever your work eligibility would be. You're welcome to apply, but you have to meet those. We can't go around that either. So as long as you meet those requirements, we're happy to have you, and definitely had quite a number of international students in the program over the last couple of years. And then if you were a part of our program before, and I don't see any names on here, but if you're watching this and you were a part of this previously, you're more than welcome to apply again. As I said, we've got lots of opportunities, so you may want to try out something different within system. Or, hey, we've had some great people. I know there's some folks I'd take back. So moving on, program requirements. I mentioned the professional development program. That is required. So, you know, this came up as we started piloting things as a little bit of an issue. If you accept a position in the program, you're expected to be at those every week. They're at 1 o'clock on Tuesdays. So if you're taking classes, that's fine. You can typically work with your supervisor around that kind of scheduling, but we do need you to be available from 1 to 2:30 on Tuesdays. So make sure that if you're looking at classes and looking at this internship, that that you coordinate your schedule to make that viable. And then as with COVID, we found that people are actually moving all over the place. For tax purposes, we do actually need you to reside in Texas. Doesn't have to be Austin necessarily, depending on the position. We'll get to that in just a second, but you do need to be in the state of Texas. So our key dates are here for you. Just to, I think the big one of note right now is that the applications will open on January 7th, and that's when we'll have a full list of the positions that are available. As you can see, we'll be interviewing through the end of March, and we'll start making offers as soon as we can. We might be able to make offers a little earlier than that, depending on how quickly we get through interviews. But then we start May 31st, and we run all the way through the summer until August 5th. So you do want to make sure that you're available for the full 10 weeks. And that's Michaela, having good things to say. Grace did all my animation for me, so thank you, Grace. All right. One thing I didn't mention before we get to the Q&A is just that we learned a lot doing this remotely over the first 2 years. And with that, some of our departments actually prefer it. So if you're not able to move to Austin, make sure that you check the descriptions. There are going to be some positions that are available remote. Some will be Austin based. So depending on what your interest is, I don't know what that list is quite yet of who's going to need people here and who is okay with things being remote, but there will be possibilities remotely as well. So if that's a deal breaker for you, make sure you check, because those opportunities will be there. And we'll be doing our professional development online. So our team here has a few other things to say. We've got some quotes from Sammer and Alex, and I don't know if Nikhil got on or not, but he had things to say as well. I'm sure you have questions. I went through that really quickly, but we are happy to share whatever other information you might need.
Thank you. I'm really impressed with the animation. I like that.
It's all Grace.
Again, kudos, Grace. Animation.
Thank you.
It's always a bonus. I'm a big fan. Like back in the old days, the old pop-up books. That's kind of what you can probably tell it sort of reminds me of. It's very cool. Thank you. Thank you for taking one. Obviously, thank you for the partnership. Thank you for offering the opportunities to UTA students and all the students in the system. And really, congratulations, on the research and the work you've done to set this program up. I mean, it really is a best practice. I mean, in terms of the things that we would look for in an internship experience, you really just ticked, everything off that list, right? The mentoring piece, the professional development piece is so important to students and overlooked in a lot of programs. And I know we're hoping that DFW area employers will be reviewing this recording for some advice around best practices. And that presentation did a great job of laying those out for folks. Really appreciate, the structure. I have several notes here. Really appreciate the structure and the attention that was paid to the student experience. The reflection piece also, I agree, I think is critical. It's a great way to prepare students for to interview for that next position. As you said, that was a great point. If you're not reflecting, if you're not taking notes, you forget about all the great things that may have happened near the beginning of the experience. And that reflection time is critical. And I don't think a lot of time is allowed for that, in most opportunities, most internships. So again, I think that's a wonderful piece. And the other thing in your presentation that I thought was great, that many students aren't aware of all of the opportunities that exist within an organization or within a company. They associate maybe an institution with higher education, teaching, and they don't understand all the support, that ties to that. So that was fantastic too. Just a few questions about the program before we talk about the student experience, if you don't mind. I was curious, again, a really impressive program. You were working remotely, probably transitioning a lot of things, large program. What were some of your greatest challenges in getting things started for those employers that might be joining us?
Yeah, we pivoted really suddenly, as you all experienced in your own lives. And because it was a pilot program, we really had to take a moment and go, are we doing this? And what we saw, we're an education agency. And ultimately, when we were having those conversations saying, we see and are hearing from our students that internships are disappearing, that things are getting rescinded, the companies are having to deal with this in their own way. So we doubled down and actually added positions and said, well, we'll figure it out. And we did it remotely. And I think then from there is how do you then do that, right? We all had minimal Teams and Zoom experience at that point, and now we feel like we're all experts. And we can do breakout rooms like nobody's business, but we were having to learn a lot of new tech pieces to make that work. And I think one of the biggest things that we were concerned about was making sure there was still a community. And so we actually have interns that work with us to work. Alex does a lot of this work on the community building, on keeping some chats going, asking questions, doing spotlights on the interns, creating coffee chats and coffee breaks with the interns so that they get to spend some additional time together. So that was a big piece, and we were scared we weren't going to be able to do that, but we were. And one of the most amazing things was how it pulled in the staff as well. We had some great debates about whether pineapple belonged on pizza and how you put on your socks and shoes, and is it sock, sock, shoe, shoe, or sock, shoe, sock, shoe? Think on that just for a second. That was Stephanie's great question. But they were funny, and they're the kinds of things you talk about when you're walking down the hall. And so we got to experience that in a virtual way, and figuring out how to do that was one of the biggest challenges.
It is sock, sock, shoe, shoe, right? I mean, everybody does sock, sock, shoe, shoe.
Well, we found that there are some exceptions, like when you go camping.
Oh, okay. Never thought about it. That's great.
Because your feet are going to get dirty.
Yeah, it's going to be. Yeah, it's going to be my afternoon probably now. Thinking about that.
So I did want to say Nikhil is trying to get on. So if I keep looking over here, it's because I'm trying to email him new links.
Okay. Yeah, I hope he's able to make that happen. And like I said, we'll make some time for that introduction if he's able to get in. The biggest question, I guess, employers coming to us, I mean, their goal for their internship program is to identify talent, right? To bring on full time, or that's the hope, to create a talent pipeline. So their biggest question to us in employer relations is, what's the best way to recruit students? so much competition for students' attention, you know, at a university. Handshake, thousands of opportunities are available on Handshake. Curious what recruitment strategy worked best for you, or what you might advise about just recruitment in general of interns.
Yeah, Stephanie or Grace, do you want to jump in, or?
I can offer my thoughts, and then you can fill in, Susan, because I'm sure you have kind of a spiel ready to go. But I you know, from an HR standpoint, you know, and knowing recruiting and how looking at talent pools and the supply of talent, I think we were fortunate, I guess, and Susan already alluded to it, that the you know, initiation of our program was right in the midst of when programs and offerings were going away. So we had an advantage initially with the pool and just people really trying to find an internship where there weren't many opportunities. You know, I think, you know, you stick to what works with the standard going out to career fairs, and we were able to, right before, you know, the pandemic hit, we were out at all of the institutions. We made it a point to give some face time and really, you know, get the word out about the program. We also, in you know, branding, we again had advantage in that UT is a prominent force as far as from being an employer standpoint, but making sure that everything was, I think Susan did a really good job to ensure that everything that we did kind of came back to the brand, that it was recognizable, that people knew what they were, that, you know, they were the opportunities they were pursuing. And I think that was really important. So I'll let Susan and Grace kind of fill in the holes of the things I didn't touch on, but those are the things that stood out for me when we initiated the program.
I completely agree with everything Stephanie said, but I think in addition, in terms of creating a pipeline, it's really embracing your interns and bringing them into your company culture. I think some ways I don't know how we did it, but we had a really immersive experience. And if we look back at a lot of the additional feedback we got post-internship from our interns, it's the people are so supportive. You know, everyone was so welcoming. And so for future years, that's just creating this, you know, reputation for us. So we're a place that's going to teach you how to kind of bridge that gap from being a student to being a adult worker, so to speak. And so I think, you know, all of that helps to kind of create that long-term pipeline that companies are looking for.
Yeah, I'd say the other thing, just in thinking about other employers and what worked, you know, we're a little confusing when people see us at a career fair. They don't know what UT System is, which sounds funny, but until I came to work for UT System, I didn't know what UT System was. I worked at UT Austin, and hey, there's a UT Arlington. I'm sorry, I really didn't know. But there are 13 institutions in the UT system, and so there's a lot of educating people around that. But the thing I worry less about it now, because we've had 46 students come through having really positive experiences, and if that's one thing I know from my career management days to now, it's the word of mouth. If you can create a good experience once and send those folks out in the world doing good things, they spread the word for you. And I was concerned in our second year, because we didn't have the opportunity to do things in person that we had the first year. And we had 1,300 applications for, I think we had 20 published positions. So it was crazy. But a lot of that was because people had heard about it.
Yeah, that's a great pool. Yeah, really successful, it sounds like, in getting the word out, you know, and getting in front of students. I know another question that only, I guess, the staff, before we move on to the student experience, could answer, that so many students want to know is, how do I stand out? You know, what you know, it's a large pool. You know, what kind of characteristics are you looking for? You know, what really made an attractive candidate? And I know you have, that's a really general question, right? You had a lot of roles. It really depends on the position description, you know, in hiring, of course. But generally, could you speak to, I guess, what got you excited about a candidate, or what really made a candidate stand out, or maybe even what you wish you'd saw that you didn't see as much of? some of those candidates?
So there are so many different positions, right? So it's going to vary a bit by the department, but we certainly have hired our own interns on the HR side and stuff, and Grace can address that as well. But on the talent and innovation side, I think the best advice I can give any student in interviewing, period, is to be yourself. You're going to screw a question up. It's going to happen. We're going to ask you something you're not prepared for, and that's okay. Do the best you can in answering it, and don't let it sabotage the rest of your interview. One question is not going to keep you from getting a job. So it's when people can't recover. So I guess let me flip that. You're asking me what impresses me. Yeah, you're going to mess a question up. You're going to stumble on something, but the people who can recover quickly, have a sense of humor about it, and move on and still complete the interview with confidence, that impresses me, because that's real. And I want to see real people. I think one of the best compliments that Alex and Emily gave us at the end of their time in the summer was that they felt like they did good, important work and had a good time, and those aren't mutually exclusive things. And so for me, having people who can be serious but don't take themselves too seriously is also really important. That's a fit for me. Steph, Grace, other things?
So I have a couple, and one is very general in regards to the application. Read the application instructions, because although the hiring managers, for the most part, like individually filtered through application materials, for pretty much every position, if the materials that were requested were not submitted, you were thrown out almost automatically, because reading instructions is going to be important in pretty much every job you ever take. So read it carefully and provide exactly what's being requested for. And then in terms of the interview, I agree with Susan, like keeping your cool, right? Because you're going to have, as much as you prepare, there's always going to be that one stump question, right? And one of my favorite pieces of advice I've gotten that I use as a facilitator or in interviews is, if you don't know, it's okay to take a pause and say, let me think about that, or can we come back to that one? Because you're not expected to know everything right the second somebody asks you that question. So those would be my two pieces.
And I'll just add briefly, building on all of that, as I was helping screen some of the candidates, I think I wanted to know that this mattered to the person applying, from, as Grace talked about, the application, the resume. It matters when you know that it's put together well, that there's no typos, so it matters. It's important to the individual as they're submitting themselves on paper. But then I expect a certain enthusiasm as I'm interviewing. If you get an opportunity to have a screening call, I want to hear the enthusiasm. I want to hear that this matters, and it's not just another of the 10 applications that you put out for an internship. So I would, if someone's on the fence or not fully committed to taking, to the internship, and it's just, maybe it's number 10 on their list of internships that they want to do, it's not going to serve as an advantage for that individual to pursue our opportunities. I want to know that people really are interested in working for our organization and the positions that we offer, and I think that helps an individual stand out when you can tell from every aspect that they're enthusiastic.
Yeah, I love that. Students, we get so nervous and so focused on the questions and the process when we're interviewing that a lot of times we become robotic, and that you lose that passion and excitement for the role, or you're a little nervous to be excited, to kind of show that excitement. You feel like you have to tamp that down, which is it's a great point. The other piece that I thought was really interesting, when you have a lot of candidates, you can easily screen yourself out if you don't submit all the materials, right? If a cover letter is required and it's not provided, that's an easy way, to start eliminating candidates who can't follow instructions. I think that's really important for students to understand. If transcripts are requested, then you need to be sure that they're attached, right, in a format that can be opened.
I'm going to throw one more in there. if you are using a cover letter repeatedly, you need to make sure it does not have another organization's name in it.
Right.
Because I will throw it away immediately.
Right.
And we did get many. I mean, I
I'm
got stuff to Ernst & Young. I got stuff to Microsoft. I got all kinds of stuff. And I was like, that's not us.
Yeah, another good tip. Direct your materials. Review your materials. You should be tailoring every every cover letter, every resume, and to some degree to the position, to the position description. Exactly. Before we you leave the staff questions and employer information, any other helpful tips or suggestions for employers who, as part of the EDGE program, that's what we like to do, is create new opportunities by helping employers set up internship programs. So any other tips for success or suggestions for employers who are considering this kind of program?
You hit it on the head, by saying this is a best practice. Susan has put together an amazing program, but it's not, but she didn't reinvent a wheel. There's nuances to our programs that I think are unique, but, educating yourself, I guess, is the basis for my comment. Make sure that you are using best practices from everywhere to really develop a robust program. I think, had the opportunity to learn from, the conference that you offered, David, but I think, don't feel like you have to reinvent a wheel. There are a lot of great best practices out there.
I'd say the other one too is, some organizations may feel like they don't have the bandwidth within their HR or whoever's supposed to run it. I mean, one of the things that's been so fun for us, and for me only having been at System for 3 years, is we can be a little bit siloed, but we have amazing expertise in the building. And so who else can we bring in that has a piece that we don't, that can help us to, the mentors have brought so much to the table in pairing them with our students, and then even the supervisors, from their functional area. I don't worry about the projects. There are the things that are in my sphere of control, and there are other things. And even from a professional development standpoint, where we have opportunities, we're starting to bring in more and more of the staff to be involved, because one, they enjoy giving back. But two, they have a lot to offer. They do hiring, so they've got an opinion about all of these things. So when we're practicing elevator pitches, bringing them in. So don't feel like your small team necessarily has to own all of it. Look around your organization and see who else may be good advocates and partners in building out the program.
Yeah, a great point. So many of our small to medium-sized partners is feel like they don't have the resources or the people, to manage it. So to look within different areas, kind of think outside the box when it comes to developing that structure. Aisha, I'm really excited to hear from the students and learn more about their experience. Would you like to take us through the student questions, please?
Sorry. Yes, of course. Nikhil is having trouble getting in, so I'm hoping he can call us in. But Summer, would you like to get us started by telling us a little bit more about your role and responsibilities at UTS?
Sure, I'll answer from the perspective of an intern. So when I was brought on back in January, and my experience is different because I started before the cohort started in the summer, I was brought on to help with basically collecting the data for all the applications for the summer internship program. They also, and one of the things is, they wanted a quick way to collect this data, visualize it, but then also work on a few other projects on the innovation side. So that's the primary thing that I've worked on. The primary project was developing a mechanism to help automate that process of collecting all the data from the students and distributing it to the appropriate supervisors. I also had the chance to work on another big project where we help connect PhDs with professionals from industry and in this networking event. So it was up to me to come up with a mechanism of properly matching those PhDs to the professionals based on their career interests. So for me, that was a very interesting and impactful project to work on because I was able to see what my mechanism can bring to the table to where it can actually create these meaningful connections. I've had a few PhD students message me saying, hey, like, you know, because of your matching mechanism, I had such a great match that I'm still in touch with. So that's, you know, it was really great working on the innovation side, and because it's just, you know, you're so focused on making these programs for students, and you're really serving those students in all the 13 UT institutions. So that's what I was mainly involved in as an intern, and I love the work, and I continue to be involved in it in some shape or form, but I loved it. It was a great experience for sure.
Thank you, Summer. What was the application and interview process like for your position with UT System, Alexandra?
So I had to, besides like your regular resume and your information, I also had to submit 2 questions that were specific for the position. And I think one of them was, who is an innovator that you admire? And in that specific question, I remember, like, first I thought, oh my gosh, should I just put like Elon Musk or something like that? And then I was like, no, everybody's gonna write about that. And I decided to write about my mom. And funnily enough, after I got the first screening phone call, when I was in my actual interview, the person that was interviewing told me that he actually liked my application because I was talking about my mom and not about like Elon Musk. So I would say like that's something that I would recommend everybody doing. So once I submitted my application, I waited a little bit, and then I got the first phone call, which was more like a, you know, getting to know me. Why do you want this position? Kind of getting like a sense of, do you care enough to like want to work, like really, really want to work for us? And then the second interview, he was a one-on-one with who was going to be my supervisor, and we just went through like, you know, your regular interview questions. Before that interview, though, I remember I called my friends and I had them interview me, and that was honestly really good because I just told them, you know, give me whatever you can and just ask me as hardest questions that you can think of, ask them to me. And that actually helped me prepare a lot, because some of the questions that he asked me, my friends had asked me before. So I was so nervous. And I think at the end of the day, what just made me feel really good about the interview was that it felt like I was having a conversation with him. It didn't feel like I was, you know, being, you know, like trial by fire almost. It just felt like, oh, he's somebody who he seems really fun to work with. If I get to work with this position that I think it's amazing, this is gonna be a great fit. If it doesn't, I just met a really cool human being. Thankfully, it worked out, and now I'm here. But that's kind of like what happened for me.
Thank you, Alexandra. Summer, talk about how you were evaluated as an intern.
And while you think about that answer, I want to check and see if Nikhil is on the line. Nikhil, are you here?
I think Nikhil called in.
You're muted if it's you on the phone, Nikhil. All right, Aisha and David, see if you can unmute him while Sam answers that question.
So since the internship is a 10-week program, in the 5th week, supervisors are asked to fill out and complete an evaluation form for their intern. So I remember Susan filled out, and since I was reporting to Susan filled out this form, and it evaluated you in 4 areas: critical thinking, communication, teamwork, and professionalism. So what happened was, and I don't know the process for every supervisor, but at least for what Susan has done for me, Susan's completed the form, and then basically in each of those 4 categories, they'd have sets of questions that she would scale on a strongly disagree to a strongly agree scale. And then she had a 30-minute meeting with me to go over those evaluation results and to explain to me what are the things that I've done really well in and what are the things that I can improve upon. And a lot of these are, related to the projects you've worked on and some of the tasks you work on. The feedback was, looking back at it, I mean, the feedback is very valuable because, one, it showed me where my real strengths are, but it also showed me where I could be giving more of an effort into. And until this day, I mean, I still, have that advice stuck with me to where I go back to and then I implement more of that evaluation advice. But also, in addition to that, I'd have a meeting every week with Susan just to go over, it's like a daily check-in meeting where we go over some of the projects I'm working on, some of the challenges I have coming up ahead, just as a quick way to like check in and make sure that I'm on track, which also served as another like alternative form of an evaluation. So for me, really having that formal evaluation done in the middle of the internship program was immensely helpful because it helped me complete the rest of the program successfully, but also moving forward, if I were to have gone and got a full-time position, that advice could have applied just as well.
Thank you, Summer. Alexandra, what's your favorite thing about the experience? What have you gained?
I think there's just honestly so much. My favorite part in almost everything that I do is the people, and I think this is also very true to this internship. There's just so many people that have so many different expertise, and nobody has ever said, no, I'm not going to show you how to do this. Everybody's just they want you to learn, and because of that, they encourage you to ask you questions. And if you don't understand, they'll explain it another way. And I think it's just that openness to share what they already have and make sure that you can also achieve that made this internship really, really cool for me, because I think sometimes it's just like, okay, this is your work, go do it, but they don't foster that growth in you, and that's honestly very valuable. And then the professional development series were honestly really fun because I didn't have LinkedIn prior to this, and now I do because it's important. And I was able to learn, how to do it. Also, I was able to know how to network better. So overall, I think professionally and personally, I grew a lot because of this internship, and it's just really, really fulfilling.
Thank you, Aisha. I think we may have Nikhil with a open mic. I hope so. If so, please, yes.
Yes.
Hello, Nikhil. Welcome.
Please take a moment to introduce yourself and tell us about your role and responsibilities in the internship.
Okay, sure. So I'm Nikhil. So sorry for the technical difficulties. I think the call is reserved to UT Arlington students and UT System employees, and that's why it wasn't letting me in. But I'm here now through the phone. So I'm Nikhil. I'm a senior at UT Austin studying Management Information Systems, and I interned at the UT System 2 summers ago, in the summer of 2020, during the pilot internship program, and I was a data visualization intern, and I worked in the Office of Institutional Research and Analysis. And do you want me to go over the project, or what more would you want me to talk about?
Sure, you can talk a little about the project.
Okay, sure. So I worked with another intern. She was a research and reporting intern, and we worked on automating the creation process of the UT System SmartBook. So the SmartBook is an annually updated data reference, I guess, that is sent to all the UT System institutions and leaders, and it gives them information and analytics on how their school is performing, how the distribution of their student demographics, like their income levels, their test scores. It gives a bunch of useful information to the UT System leaders that they can use to kind of develop their strategy for how they want to grow their institution throughout the year. So I used Power BI and was able to automate the process of creating the smart book, so that way it would reduce the processing time from around 6 weeks to ideally 1 week. I hope it worked. I hope it worked. I haven't heard
They're
it
still
work,
using it.
Okay, cool. That's good. But yeah, that was kind of a brief overview of what I worked on over the summer.
I will also just mention, since Nikhil didn't, that Nikhil and his partner on this project presented to all of the vice presidents of institutional research across the academic institutions in UT system. So some of the opportunities and access you have for the audiences that you may be exposed to can also be quite impressive as well, which I think might have been a little bit intimidating, but awesome, right, Nikhil?
Yeah, no, I felt really honored that we were given that opportunity, because we didn't ask for it. They were like, you should do this. And I was like, really? Like, I was 19 at the time. I was like, you want me to present to all these people? Okay, well, sure. But it was great to see like the level of trust that the team had in us, and that we were able to kind of like show our impact and create a stronger impact as only an intern during our like 2.5 months there. So it was a really, really great opportunity.
Thank you, Nikhil. I think Alexandra kind of touched on this, but what are the tips and advices you would like to give UTA students who are seeking internship? How can you make themselves stand out as an applicant? Who wants to go first? Amar?
I was about to do not it, but sure, I'll go. I would say, capitalize on the experience that you already have. A lot of people, they undersell themselves on their resume and their profile. Really capitalize on your experience that you have in the past and see how that can feed into the job that you're applying for. There's a lot of transferable skills before you can imagine, a lot more than you can imagine. A lot of the positions I've had before coming into UT System were not really like data analyst roles. A lot of them were just like some random stuff, but I talked about it in such a way that was just transferable to the position that I was applying for. I'd say that is the biggest thing that I would say to make sure you're taking advantage of. If you don't have those experiences, maybe seek them out. Join student organizations. Take initiative on your own end. If you're in a position where, like, let's say you're a computer science major and you can't find an internship, or you want to build your profile, do a project. Do something that can, make an experience for yourself. It can really go a long way if that's applicable. So capitalize on the experience you have and go ahead and look for those experiences that can help solidify your profile. I think those are going to really increase your chances of landing an internship and in the future landing a full-time job.
Thank you, Samar. Nikhil, would you like to?
Yeah, I would agree with everything that Samar said, and I'd also say, at least for the UT System internship specifically, I was asked to provide supplemental materials for the data visualization internship, and I know that for the research reporting internship, an Excel assignment was sent. So I'd say definitely be intentional and creative with what you submit. If any internship in general asks you to submit additional work, you definitely should try your best to put your best foot forward, because they don't ask for that unless you are being highly considered for at least an interview. So definitely take time to do those sorts of things. And then I would also say that recruiting and finding an internship takes a lot of work. So I would even say it's definitely really difficult to try and find and recruit and do an internship while you're doing all your classes, but you really, really should try and make it a priority, because I would say the internship experience that you gain over the summer and that professional work experience is as important as your schoolwork. And I've seen a lot of my friends oh, I can't, I'm too busy with school, I don't have time to find an internship, but then they finish their semester and then they don't have an internship, so definitely take time to enhance your network, reach out to people, leverage your experiences, update your resume, apply to jobs. There's lots of things that you can do. And for me, it's really paid off. So I would highly recommend just taking the time and setting time aside, blocking out that time. So that way you can advance your career and explore options like the UT System internship.
Thank you, Nikhil. Alexandra, what do you know now that you wish that you knew when you started your internship?
I think I've learned to believe more in myself and to give myself more credit of the work that I can actually do. And this is just something I think that sometimes student leaders, if you've held a position before, you kind of just, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't do this. It's too much. This is where I'm not going to be able to succeed. And I think what I learned through this is just to, like, you know, breathe in, lean in the people that you have, your team, and, you know, shoot for the stars. If there is a way that you can do the work that you want to do, and I think it only requires two things. It's for you to care about what you're doing and for you to show up and do it. And I think that's the best thing that I can tell you that I learned from this.
Thank you, Alexandra. Would anyone like to pitch into that?
We think it was so well said that we're dropping the mic one.
What can you add, right?
Right.
But before we leave the students, I want to thank you all and apologize, Nikhil, for having for the technical issues and getting you in. I'm glad we were able to pull you in. Is there anything any of the interns would like to say in terms of recommending why you think it would be important? You touched on this kind of in the last question, but why do you think it would be important to make the time for an internship?
I think that's what honestly will put you over the top whenever you're trying to look for a job, or even if you're trying to go into professional school, law school, med school, whatever it is that you want to do next. I think very few places will really look into, oh, this person got all A's throughout their however years it took you to complete your degree, but they will look at your resume. And it'll translate also when you're interviewing. They'll know that you've worked with people before and that you have what it takes to already have a full-time position, and they won't hit you with the get some experience and then come back to us, you know? So this is why they're so important. And this is why this one is also so important, because it's not just work, they're professionally developing you with the PDP series.
Thank you. To be respectful of everyone's time, I know we're really close. Susan and team, is there anything you'd like to mention or promote before we close?
You know, I was thinking as everyone was talking about another differentiator that hadn't occurred to me before, and it feels so obvious. We work in education. We work for students. Your success is our success. So when you think about interviewing, and this isn't necessarily true across the board for organizations, we're not trying to get you. You know, it's not a gotcha question. We're not trying to trip you up. We want you to succeed. We want you to succeed in your interview, even if you don't get the job. We want to see all of our students doing well. And so know that in your experience in interacting with system, it's not your win is our win. So we're not trying to put up roadblocks. We're trying to bring on board the people that we think will be most valuable and learn the most in the positions we have available for that summer. But regardless of your experience, you know, I think that's one thing that could help put you at ease a little bit if you do interview with us, is just to know that and know, you know, whether you come work for us or not, you've got big fans in Austin. And we've been so impressed with all the students across all of the institutions. UT Arlington definitely included. We hired Sammer, he's our first full-timer, and we've just been really impressed with the talent across systems. So you keep reinforcing that every time we talk to you, and we love bringing you in to interact with the rest of the team here at UT System, and bring an energy and an excitement to our summers. So we look forward to having some of you with us next summer.
Well, I want to thank you all again for taking the time today. It's an excellent presentation. Thank you, students, for making the time. We'll be posting a recording for viewing on our Spotlight page, on our LinkedIn Spotlight page, in our Microsoft Teams group. We hope that you'll share that. with your colleagues, classmates. Again, you'll find links to more information in the comments section, so please visit there. And again, thanks to the panelists. We really appreciate the partnership and you providing these opportunities to students. Best of luck the rest of the semester, everyone.